Welcome to our QPR Preview Show ahead of our FA Cup third round trip to Leicester. We normally only get one FA Cup show a year, so let's enjoy it whilst we can. But before the Cup, let's reflect on a superb start to the 2025 for QPR with back-to-back home wins, making it 5 home wins for QPR in a row for the first time in 11 and a half years after we beat Luton 2-1. Was it a deserved 3 points for you, Dave?
Oh yeah, I thought so. I mean, it was a cracking game to be honest. I thought, we could have won that by 4 or 5-1. To be honest, the chances we missed, but Luton had the chances to get a point out of it as well. So it was a really good game. But it was another I thought it was a really impressive performance from us. We struggled a bit at the start of the second half after they got level, but we found a way to get back on top again, and we're creating lots of chances. We look good going forward. Even without Cook, we look pretty good at the back. I mean, Luton were dangerous from corners, but I think that's their strength. I don't think there was anything we did particularly wrong. But for me, again, it was the midfield that stood out. The three of them in midfield, but I thought were all superb. And it's quite nice going on a minute, and it's hard to pick a man in a match. There's 3 or 4 candidates, whereas not long ago there was no candidates at all. But it was another really good performance.
Yeah, it's good that you mentioned the midfield because I actually put on our forum that to me the big change since November has been how dominant the midfield now is in games. Teams like we think back to that Middlesbrough match, we've talked about it so much, but they were just cutting through us so easily. Now with Varane, just letting him sit and letting Morgan and Field just go off and do whatever they want to do, cover every blade of grass. It's really helped us. And can you believe we spent the first 3 months of the season begging for a home win? Couldn't get one against 10 men, even 9 men, even when we had a penalty. Now 5 in a row. I think it just sums up following QPR how you can go from one massive extreme to the other. I thought we deserved the win against Luton, though. In open play, like you said, we had by far the better chances. And aside from that 10 to 15 minutes at the start of the second half, we were much more effective, much more proactive out of the two teams. I know, I think we can all acknowledge it was a lucky goal, the second one, obviously, and the first one was contentious, but we had so many other chances we could and should have scored. You said it yourself, Luton only really threatened from set pieces. And I wanted to ask what you made of them, because given we all thought they'd be top 6, it's strange where they are, really.
Yeah, they've had a really odd season. I just keep expecting them to go on a run and be all right, but they don't seem to be. I didn't think they were that good, to be honest. You look at them a couple of years ago when they went up, they were such a good team all over the pitch. They were strong, did really horrible to play against, and had so many goals in them. And they don't like that at all at the minute. I thought they tried to overplay a little bit at times. That they were at their best when they brought all their forwards on and just started pumping the ball in the box, and we struggled with that. And they kind of need to get back to that. That's what he's good at, and I think they get up the league a bit quicker if they start playing like that. But yeah, it's surprising how long they've been down there, and we're in January now, and there's no real sign of them pulling away, is there? It looks like they're going to be bottom half at best, really.
Yeah. I mean, I know their manager defended his players, but I thought QPR just wanted it more. Look at the
Mm.
defending for Frey's goal, how much Frey wanted it compared to the fullback, the sloppy passes that led to a few of our chances. I mean, 10 away defeats in a row now for them. It's just astonishing for a team that was in the top flight 8 months ago. And you mentioned how good they were when they went up. For me, it's hard now to see what their plan was in the game, other than just winning headers at corners. It seemed to be all they were really playing for. But yeah, I don't think they'll go down, but very strange season for them. Kieran Morgan, we've just touched on the midfield, but I wanted to give him a little bit of time in the spotlight because we've not talked about him in such detail, but he's getting a lot of plaudits on Sky. We're giving him the coverage all the time in both this match and the previous one against Watford. How impressed with him are you?
Yeah, he's been really good since he come into the side. I think he come on as a sub against Portsmouth, and just looked the best player on the pitch for us. It was like, where we got him from? And he's grown and grown and got better and better. He reminds me a little bit of Falling, not as good as Falling yet, but just his range of passing. I just really like him. Each game he really impresses me, and he gets around the pitch well. I'm sure he'll have a dip at some point. He's a young player. He'll have dips and then get better again. But really promising. And I hope we can get him on a decent contract because he was signed for the development team. I assume probably only for a year. I know we're not allowed to know, but they want to be tying him down because he looks a very good player.
Yeah, I think it was probably only a 6 to 18 month deal, whatever he got at the time. So they do need to be careful because he's going to be catching the eye of teams already, isn't he? He's just brave on the ball. He can get it with like 3 men around him, and he has that ability to either control it in the tight area or pass it first time out of trouble, and then the whole team's away from them and covers an unbelievable amount of ground, as you said. And I think he's the player that Marty Cifuentes hoped Elijah Dixon-Bonner was going to be, and arguably the rise of Kieran Morgan is probably the end of the QPR career for Dixon-Bonner. Now he's not really in the squad much, is he? And I actually thought Field was the man of the match against Luton because he covered every blade of grass and was sliding and blocking all over the pitch. But there's no denying that Kieran Morgan, probably have a player that we maybe need to enjoy him whilst he's here with us. If we sum up the 4 matches over Christmas overall, now we've finished Swansea, Norwich, Watford, Luton. How do you feel the festive period went overall?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it went really well. I mean, Swansea, I thought was kind of a one-off. They just had a bad half, really, and Swansea took advantage. We'd had a few performances like that and got away with it before, and I think it was just one of them days. But since then, they've been playing really well. They were good against Norwich, certainly deserved at least a point there. And in the 2 home games, I thought they were really good. I mean, they've played 2 decent sides. Sides that Watford are around the playoffs, and I know Luton are down the bottom, but they've got a lot of Premier League players in that squad, and beat them both reasonably comfortably, and look really good. And I keep harping back to it. I just can't believe it's the same season that we were talking about 2 months ago. It's insane. They look so much better now. And we were leaving getting the train home the other night, and my son's going, "How far are we off the playoffs?" And I'm like, "Oh, don't be silly." But then you look and go, "Oh, actually, we're not that far away, are we?" And it's insane how it's turned around so quickly, and long way to continue, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, up to the heady heights of 13th place, and we are actually closer to the top 6 than the bottom 3. But I think we'll all be happy if we just stay around here for the rest of the season now.
Mm.
But yeah, the response to Swansea was it's been amazing, really, hasn't it? 7 points from 9 since then. And I think 7 points from 12 overall at Christmas. I think we'd have all probably taken that before a ball was kicked. I don't think you'll get many complaints from QPR fans. Before we move on to Leicester, Ilias Chair hit 250 games for the R's. I read he's only the 30th player ever to achieve that mark for QPR. On his way to becoming a club legend or already there for you, Dave?
I think he's definitely on his way to it. It's always hard when they're still at the club and still playing to put them at that sort of level. And I still think with Chair, the best is yet to come for him. He's been a really good player, and it's been great watching him develop the last couple of years. But I think he can get better and go on to even bigger heights. He struggled a bit at the start of this season, but I think he's looked really good the last few games. Some of his crossing has massively improved. Some of the balls he's been putting in has been superb. But he's been great to watch over the year. I hope he stays, and we'd be great if he spent his whole career. But really, wouldn't it? He's at the age now where you think he's probably either going to leave in the next year or sign on to stay for good. And I hope he stays for a long time. I think he's been a brilliant player for us, and you miss him when he's not there, definitely.
Yeah, I think he is a modern day legend. And selfishly, I'd love him to be at the club as a one club man for his whole career. And I think for this generation, it's hard to be better than what he's been for QPR. We're at this level. What else can he really do? All the kids love him. He's the kid with name everyone wants on the back of the shirts. He excites fans the way he plays. He's shown great loyalty to the club. And I think one way of thinking about it is, if he's a legend or not, is if he came back in, let's say, 15, 20 years as a forever ours at half time, the reception he'd get would be unbelievable. So it's easy to criticize anything, the odd bit about him now when he's still a player. But I think if you detach it from it a little bit, I think he more than deserves to be called on his way to becoming a QPR legend. And I wonder whether in missing basically the whole first half of the season, we could actually see his best half of a season ahead now, because usually he's played every minute of every match and he's obviously tiring a little bit. But now he's fresher. The way he's performed the last few games, particularly at home, in a team growing in confidence, it's an exciting prospect if he can keep it up. Let's turn our attentions to the Cup and the trip to Leicester. Interestingly, QPR have never previously faced Leicester away in either of the Cups. And it will be a one-off match on Saturday, no replays. But whereas the League Cup goes straight to penalties, in the FA Cup, if it's level at full time, there's 30 minutes extra time before penalties. And where do you stand on that, Dave? Do you think there should be replays?
Yeah, I think there should be, really. I mean, it's difficult, and you can be quite selfish and think, you want it done on the day. But for a lot of clubs, the revenue you can get from these replays is so important. You see someone like Salford have got Man City at the weekend. They could get a draw and take them back to their place and get a big TV money. But it's not going to happen. It's all going to be done on the day. I think it's a real shame. It's all done for the benefit of the big clubs so they can squeeze these extra Champions League games in a couple of weeks. But I'd prefer them to still be there, to be honest. But it will make it an exciting day Saturday, because it's going to be decided on the day.
Yeah, it's one for the comments, I think, whether people prefer replays or not. Because I actually probably prefer no replays because I like going to the match knowing it'll be decided on the day. I'm not sure why the League Cup goes straight to penalties and in the FA Cup we have to do extra time first. But one-off matches, I think, are better for the fans, maybe in attendance, not for the owners. I do agree with that. They'd probably prefer financially, especially the lower league clubs, to have replays. But I can't imagine any fans of QPR or Leicester would particularly want to play again a week on Tuesday. Perhaps unlikely anyway. There's not been any draw between the sides in the last 11 meetings, taking us back to 2007 for the last time it ended level between QPR and Leicester. We last met in the FA Cup back in 1987. That was also in the third round, QPR winning 5-2 at Loftus Road. Leicester themselves this season, though, only won one of the last 12 games. They had a particularly dismal run over Christmas. It's 5 defeats in a row coming into this match. They're still in touch with the teams above them in the relegation scrap, but Ruud van Nistelrooy, new manager, but he's arguably already coming under some pressure, Dave, and it won't help his cause if he loses against QPR.
No, it's been a difficult season for him. I mean, I thought they'd probably stay up and be okay this year because they were so strong last year. You know, they looked a Premier League team in waiting last season, and but it just hasn't really happened for them, and they are struggling. They're on a bad run at the minute. You know, you look at what they've got coming up. They've got Palace on Wednesday, and then they've got Fulham next week. You think they're probably going to have eyes on those games rather than us, because realistically, they're probably not going to win the cup. I mean, they could get past us, you would have thought, but you know, they're probably not going to win the thing. So they'll probably be looking more at them and be thinking of resting players. So it is an opportunity for us, but he's, you know, it seems mad to say he's only been there a month, but he's definitely under pressure. They sacked the last fella after 3 months, so you know, it's not easy for him at the moment.
Yeah, like you say, it's a big match they've got midweek, so I think it's almost certain they're going to rotate. But as is usually the case when a Premier League team rotates, it's not that they're weakening too
Yeah.
much. I just don't think it's a game he can afford to throw away, though. He needs a win. He needs to get some confidence in the team and try and get them going. Their fans, I had a look, and they seem to be blaming the board. And the general consensus is obviously that the squad isn't good enough. They're bemoaning injuries, probably like every club, though. And I think they're going to obviously let Van Nistelrooy make a few signings and try and inject some life back into the club. But from the outside, to me, it does look like it's a doomed appointment already. And since a draw with Brighton on the 8th of December, in the last month, they've only scored twice. Not much fun for their fans. Makes me think that I could say that they're going to have to target this game to just try and get going. And along with not scoring, they're conceding for fun. They've conceded 44 goals in the 20 league games. And like you just mentioned, they romped to the championship title last season. It just suggests, and we've discussed it before, but the gap between the leagues is just growing ever wider, isn't it?
It is ridiculous. And you think if Leicester do come down, they're probably going to run away with it next year in the Championship because they look like a squad too good for it. The same with Southampton and Ipswich down there. The gap is huge because they all look, the three that went up look nowhere near it at that level, but were far too good for us last year. Yeah, and I don't think the gap's going to get any smaller. I think it's going to get bigger and bigger as time goes on.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the three teams who went up the season before came straight back down. Looks highly likely it could happen again. It's something that needs to be looked at. But for anything to be agreed, the other 17 teams in the top flight are going to have to agree to it. And they're all probably happy to see that happening every year, aren't they?
Yeah.
So, but to me, it's just ruining the excitement of ever thinking you could make it to the top flight because you just know you're going to get battered every other week. You get 5-0, 6-0. You see them more and more frequently, don't you, in the Premier League? Let's turn our attentions back to QPR. And I think the first word this week has to go to our amazing travelling support. Over 4,000 fans going at the time we speak. Could even be close to selling out our 5,000 allocation in the end. There's no words for it, is there?
No, it's going to be great. And I can't believe they've almost sold out Plymouth as well the following week. That's insane. You know, the away support's been brilliant for the last couple of seasons. You know, it's great. It should be a great day up there. You know, there's no real pressure on the result. We obviously hope we win, and it'll be great if we do. But you know, there's not going to be a lot of pressure on it. I think it's just going to be a fun time in the away end.
Yeah, just be 90 minutes of singing QPR songs. I think no matter
Yeah.
what the score is, if we can get a result, it'll be absolutely epic. I think it shows how desperate our fans are for a cup run, perhaps so many going. But overall, our support is just immense at the moment. Best I think I've ever known it in my time supporting QPR. I remember when I was little going to watch QPR in the Premier League, and the away ground end wouldn't be full. But
Yeah.
now every 3 p.m. home game is a sellout. Away tickets hard to come by. And it's extra incredible when you consider we've only won 5 of our last 20 third round FA Cup matches. So it's safe to say we travel more in hope than expectation. With it being a cup match, we have a lot more question marks about the lineup. And to be honest, it's very hard to predict what Marty Cifuentes does. But one question mark will be with the goalkeeper because Joe Walsh played all 3 League Cup games. Does he start here?
I think he might do. I do think he probably will make changes for this one. I hope it doesn't. I hope it's a strong team, to be honest. But yeah, I think goalkeeper's probably one where he will change it. Joe Walsh did well in the League Cup games. He'll probably bring him in for this as well. I mean, I'd like to see him second half of the season go out on loan and get some regular football, really. I think he's probably too good to be sat on the bench all the time. But I think he'll probably get a look in this weekend.
Yeah, I agree. I think he will. Marty, he has to show he trusts him, doesn't he? And he's shown himself to be an excellent goalkeeper. So I hope he does get another chance to do it. With the opposition being from the top 5, I don't think we'll see as many changes. Maybe 4, 5, 6, potentially at the most. Since we last spoke, though, we've signed Ronnie Edwards from Southampton. Will he start here? And what defence are you picking?
Yeah, I think he might do it. You know, we were really good the other night, but they could make changes in the defence and actually be stronger. You could put Dunn right back and play Edwards and Clark Salter centre halves, and it's probably balance a stronger defence. So I think he might do that this weekend. He'll want Edwards to get going. I thought he did all right when he come off the bench the other night. So no, I think I agree with you. I think he'll make a few changes, but I don't think it's going to be massive changes. He didn't do that in the League Cup early in the season, so I don't think he will now.
Yeah, the only question mark I've got with Clark Salter is I don't think he's 100% yet at all. You saw how tentative they've been with him over Christmas, and I noticed before he came on against Luton, I watched it back, and he stood between the dugouts, really like working out his calves before he comes on. So I'd actually be surprised if they risk him. But the defense has looked pretty good recently anyway. Touch wood that he, no matter what combination he uses, we've been a lot more solid. In midfield, Varane perhaps looks like he's in need of a rest. Who are you expecting to play?
Uh, I'd like to see them three play again. They've got a week before the next league game, so I'd start the three of them again and try and win this game. We've said Leicester are not in great form. They're probably going to rest players. This is an opportunity. You're playing. They are on paper. They will. Whatever team they pick will be better than us. But there's an opportunity to win this game, so I'd go as strong as we could, especially in midfield. You got Colback to come off the bench. He's still coming back from injury, so probably wouldn't start him yet. We are going to need him second half of the season. So I'd go with the same midfield again, to be honest.
Yeah, I would. I don't think Colback is ready to start. A bit like I just said with Clark Salter, he didn't look 100%. He was stretching out on the pitch at one point, so I think he's on the bench again. I just hope he actually hasn't aggravated anything coming on for 20 minutes because he just didn't look comfortable when I was focusing in on him. Looking at the forward line, Paul Smith, he's been in the form of his life in recent weeks, but he took a big blow to the cheek, left the pitch with blood pouring from his face. Can you envisage him being rested? And also, what about Michael Frey up front? Will we risk him?
I think Frey will probably start, but he'll come off at some point and they'll bring on Ryan Coley, I think, second half. I think Smith will probably start again. He did get a nasty cut, but I think he'll be okay. And like I said, they've got a week before the next game. You've got to think for a lot of these players, this is shop window for them. This is an opportunity for them. They all want to play in the Premier League. If they can impress against the Premier League team, you never know. They might get picked up in January. We don't want them to go, but from the players' point of view, this is their chance for them. Like Clark Salter and that, they might be thinking if I have a storming game here, one of these clubs might pick me up. So yeah, I'd go with him again. I'd definitely start Chair. I think he's looking to come into form. You've got a situation next week where you've got two really long travelling away games, Plymouth and Hull, in quick succession. So I think you could probably rotate more in them two games than this one because you've got a week before that one.
Yeah, I agree. It's tricky. I personally rather maybe start Saito in this one. I don't know. It's tricky. Smith maybe getting a break and a cameo off the bench. But the pitch at Leicester is huge, so it kind of maybe suits Paul Smith as our out ball to try and get him running in behind. And that's maybe why I'm potentially thinking he might actually start Alfie Lloyd over Michael Frey because he can give us that energy and an option to play him behind, or maybe he'll come off the bench. It's just nice, as we said recently, to at least know no matter what combination we've got a decent enough team and some good options off the bench. But as I said at the start, almost impossible to know how much he's going to change it and who he will change. So let us know your thoughts in the comments. And it leaves us with our predictions. Since our run to the FA Cup final in 1982, as a Division 2 side, QPR have not beaten a team from the division above in the FA Cup since then. So it's 43 years and counting. Does that counting end in 2025 by us beating Leicester?
I think we've got a great chance of doing that. I mean, let's face it, Leicester should win. They probably will win, but I feel we've got a good chance in this game. And if we play as we have been the last few games, I think we can get something there. I think we can beat them. We won there last year. There's no reason why we can't do it again.
Yeah, they're not that different aside from the one we did beat. What was it? Only 10 months ago.
Yeah,
Worth remembering as well that 2025 is going to mark 30 years since QPR last made it to the quarter final of any cup competition. Personally, I don't think we'll be getting to the quarterfinals this year, but I agree with you. I do think we can give Leicester a game. It wouldn't surprise me if it went to extra time, and then it could just be maybe the strength of their squad that does it in extra time. But QPR as well, don't forget, as also it's away from home. We've been struggling in recent games to get the balance right. We've been a bit too deep, haven't we? So maybe
yeah,
from set pieces we can trouble them. And like I say, we both said it. They're kind of there for the taking. They're low on confidence. The fans are going to be particularly angsty if we can get ahead in the game. So let's hope we can do it, and let's hope this isn't our only FA Cup preview show of the season. But regardless, we'll be back next week for more league action, and we'll be previewing the trip to struggling Plymouth. And until then, thanks as always for watching, and come on, you Rs.